things. So we're here to introduce Mary Martinson, who wants to tell us a little bit about herself and her husband, Rick.
Hi, I'm Mary Martinson. I live in the Dalles, Oregon, in the Columbia River Gorge. I was married for 16 years to my wonderful husband, Rick Martinson, retired fish biologist here in charge of getting the baby salmon over the dams on the Columbia River. Got diagnosed with ALS in May of 2023 and fairly quick progression, passed away in December 2024. Rick was very passionate about the outdoors and fishing, rafting, photography, woodworking. So I wanted to do this for him in his memory.
Well, we're really glad that you did, and we're glad you're sharing his artwork with us, his photography, I guess I should say, with us,
Yeah.
which is an art form, that
Right.
is
That's
as
that's why
well.
I thought I'd go and do that then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have you. So, did Rick do photography prior to his diagnosis with ALS then?
He did. He did. He's always been a photographer. I think that that's where he felt that he was an artist, and he was. He used to put his photographs in a lot of restaurants here in the Dalles over the years, and would also donate his photographs to local charity auctions, which is something I'm planning on doing with ALS Northwest, because I have a lot of pictures and I don't have a lot of walls.
That's
So,
one of the questions that people ask us at the conclusion of we do an artist panel at the end of these, after
uh-huh.
we put the gallery together and everything. And that's almost always a question that we get from people is this artwork for sale? And where can I get my hands?
Oh,
So that may be
yeah.
something that we talk to you about, and maybe we can get some in the IMALS store.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Um, so he lived with ALS for about 18 months. Was he able to continue taking photographs, or was he kind of sidelined?
No, he did at first. I would make it a point to get out while he was still walking, and we'd go to some of our favorite hiking places. Even though we couldn't do the hikes, we'd go to a lot of lakes around Mount Hood, and he would bring his camera because I knew that I was just trying to, keep things somewhat normal as much as you can.
Right.
But I knew that the photographs at a later date would mean a lot to myself and our blended family of two daughters he had, and I have two sons. They're all around the same age. So,
Wow.
yes, we tried to continue doing those. And he would take pictures of us, and we would take pictures, a lot of him taking pictures. So,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
We might have to get one of those for his bio for the gallery. You might think about sending us one of those too.
Okay. Okay.
I think that would be really special.
Yeah, I think so too. I have two or three of them that are good, that really shows his personality. So,
Okay, good deal. Um, do you think obviously his photographs had to have changed, because of the geographical, but like he couldn't always get out and do the landscapes and
right.
everything. But did you sense that the nature of his pictures changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't out, while he was rafting down the Deschutes River, obviously, but he started to take more photographs of flowers. I'm a former florist also, and he knew that I really liked, because I'd always say, "You're always taking pictures of, manly wildlife and, and things like that." So he did start to take some pictures of things that maybe meant a little bit more to myself. So,
Oh, that's sweet. Like intentional
yeah,
on giving a gift back to you. That's really sweet.
yeah,
Really
I
neat.
think so too.
So besides forestry and his photography, can you name something else that he was passionate about?
Oh, yes, he definitely was like the local sports photographer for softball, basketball, volleyball, baseball. So he created a website that he would take pictures of everyone's kids during these games, and then parents could go onto his website and get pictures. I mean, he was out there very intrusively on the field. Everyone really liked him. So, and then he would submit a lot of pictures for the paper because we live in a small town and they didn't have a lot of staff.
Wow, that's really amazing. So
Yeah,
he was very much a part of the community, not just, living in it. He was a part of it.
very much so. He's very well known in our small community. And I think that is, he grew up in a very small town in Iowa, Radcliffe, Iowa, less than 20 people in his graduating class. And he had a very small town community oriented friendliness about him. Here in the Dalles, it's about 13,000 people. I grew up in Portland, so I was like, okay, everyone waves at each other at these stop signs.
I thought I
But
lived in a small
he was used
town.
to that.
I thought I was in a small town. Your town is significantly smaller than mine. I live in a town of about 38,000, and
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like I'm out in the sticks a lot of times. So, wow, that's culture shock for me.
Yes.
I used to live in Dallas, which, huge
Oh, sure,
metroplex,
sure.
right? But then moved here about 10 years ago, and it was culture shock coming here to just the sleepy little beach town. I'm in the panhandle of Florida. I never told you that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's a significant difference. I'm about to share my screen. It's going to take me a second to do that. Share my screen and share. Okay, good deal. So this is one of the first, well, I guess this is the fifth picture that you sent us because I'm counting backwards in my gallery. But this looks like it's a picture of Rick or someone while they're fishing.
Right. He every year in the fall, him and three or four other guys went on a canoe trip where they would canoe down the John Day River. The water was fairly low at that time of year after the hot summers here. So that's a picture he took of one of his friends fishing. So this was like, they probably did this for 25 years.
Wow.
So
So
yeah,
this
I
is
don't this is a picture of someone else fishing, but I just thought it was really, he loved this river. So he loved this place.
so it's a very personal photograph for you, and it would have been for him too.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Then I come to this story that you sent to us. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to retype it and maybe put it in Canva so that we can display it on the wall,
Okay.
just like a
Okay.
piece of
Yeah.
art. Yeah.
That story was a bit of a surprise because in going through, he kept everything. I had not read this story before. So it was written probably much before we were married. And, but I have been to the place that he describes in the story. So he probably wrote this uh, just a few years after he moved to the Dalles, I'd say the late 80s. So I just thought, oh, I kind of was like, it was sad that I didn't get to talk to him about this story. So that was very an emotional moment for me to find this.
Isn't that amazing how when we're going through someone's personal effects that we come across things that we never knew existed?
Oh, yes, yes, that's the
I
truth.
had the same experience with my parents. My husband was an open book, so I haven't yet found anything to know about. But I did certainly with my parents learn a lot of things about them that I never would have known. My grandparents as well, things that were never shared in our family, but that my parents had tucked away somewhere. My sisters and I
Yeah.
came across it when we were going through their stuff. So the one of the first sentences in here talks about last fall I was bouncing nymphs off the bottom of my favorite section of that. How do you pronounce the river?
Is it the Deschutes?
Deschutes.
Probably. Does it
Okay,
start
that's what
with?
it
I
looks like.
can't. Yeah, Deschutes.
Yeah. So when he's talking about nymphs, is he talking about salmon, baby salmon?
He's talking about a certain fly that looks like it, because I believe in this story, he's trying to practice fly fishing. So
Okay.
that's one of the
I get it now.
types.
Yep. I get it now. I was thinking that it was some live animal that he was like bouncing off the bottom. And now
Yeah,
I get it. He's fly fishing and he's bouncing it off the bottom trying
right.
to catch a fish.
Yeah.
100% get it now. Well, I'm looking forward to posting that on the wall then. Amy, I'll retype that for you so that you don't have to do that and
Okay.
send it over to you. Okay. Amy is doing all of our Canva work for us
Oh,
for our show. There's, we're doing some title slides and she's doing bio pages and stuff like that. So
oh,
she's the
cool.
artistic person.
So I should send a picture of Rick to you, Amy. Is that correct? If you wanted, since
That'd be
okay,
great.
okay, okay,
I would really love to get a picture of him.
okay,
Sorry, trying to get this adjusted now. I would really love to have a picture of him taking a picture. I think that would be really fun.
okay, okay, okay.
All right, so tell us what we're looking at here.
This is Rick, this is hanging in my living room. I thought, oh, I'll send that one in. He framed it in kind of a rustic frame. He was a framer also. My basement's just full of framing equipment, which he has taught. He taught both of his daughters how to do this. And so this is of the Klickitats that are north of the Dalles, and that's the Klickitat Bridge. It's an area where the fishermen put in when it's okay to fish for salmon. So that is one of his favorite spots. It looks like he took this in the late summer because everything's pretty brown in that picture. It's green right now, but it doesn't stay green in the Dalles. Everyone thinks of Oregon as a lot of rain, but we're in the dry part of Oregon. So,
Is that the Columbia River underneath the bridge?
yes, yes.
Okay, very cool. Well, I think that he did the framework as well. That's an art form in and of itself. So I think when we
Yes.
put this in the gallery, I don't know if we can use a tool to try to get it a little bit more square, but I think we should try to include that frame in the gallery as well.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, let's get this one larger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I did send more than I thought.
I
Okay.
just lost it. I just lost it. Let me get it back. There it is. Come on. There it is. Come on. There we go. Tell me about this picture.
Yeah, that is also on the John Day River. Out here. Is there a person fishing in that one too? I can't quite see.
It looks like I can see somebody. I see some fishing poles. Maybe that's a
Okay.
rock. I can't tell if that's a rock.
Yeah, I can't tell either. Well, this is one from his man trip, and what fascinated Rick about the rock structure is where he grew up in Iowa. It's a different kind of beauty, but it's flat, very flat there. So he really liked the rivers out here in Oregon because of this kind of structure that the river carved out of the geological area. But and this picture means a lot to me because one time we when the water was higher, we took the boat out there and we camped on the boat, and his thing was fishing, and I liked fishing too, but I wanted to paddleboard, so I was out there kind of tootling around on my paddleboard while he fished, and that was kind of a special spot that I did. Usually, I never went on the man trips. It was like men only, but this is one time I did go out there with him.
I used to fish with my father. He would go out into the bay in Tampa or out
Oh,
into the Gulf here in the panhandle of Florida. And this is going to sound terrible. I can always remember being jealous that he could urinate off the side of the boat and I could not.
Yes.
He always brought a cooler full of beer for himself, but didn't bring a cooler full of soda for me. So if I
Right.
was thirsty, I could drink some beer. It's like, Dad, come on, I'm 7 years old.
Didn't taste good then.
Didn't taste good then, doesn't taste good now.
I hear you. That's funny.
Because of that experience. But yeah, I can relate to the whole man trip thing. Um, and then we have this one last. This looks like, and I don't know which mountain it is, but it's in the Cascades.
Yeah, that is Mount Hood.
Okay.
And I believe that is taken uh I don't think it was Lost Lake, but yeah, it is Mount Hood. And I liked the way that the clouds were coming in underneath, So he must have taken this on a hike. So it wasn't at Lost Lake because the water, I guess, could be under those clouds, but it is Mount Hood. And we live pretty close to Mount Hood, like an hour away. So
you can see the tree line and everything there. This is more I visited Washington and I was
yes.
yeah, I was up in the Wenatchee area.
Uh-huh.
And did a lot of we did some hiking and some snowmobiling and all of that. And I remember this is where you see all of the green. But I also remember a lot of pastures that they didn't have the green and the aspens and all of that stuff. It's a really beautiful area
It's
of the
pretty
country.
up there.
Mhm.
They are a big cherry growing area also as well as the Dalles. So
I can remember when we were going from Seattle up that way, the highways kind of parallel to the Columbia River at that point. And I remember just looking off and I remember seeing the orchards and I remember seeing the river and seeing all the farmland on the way up to the mountains. It was a pretty interesting experience.
yeah.
Yeah, I had never been that far west before. I've
Uh-huh.
always pretty much I've been in Germany, and so I've been in mountains and in the Alps and in Europe. Um, but other than that, I'd pretty much been relegated to the flatlands of the eastern part of the United States. So it was a
Uh-huh.
really neat experience for me.
Yeah. Florida's beautiful too, and Texas too.
I
So
love Texas because it's so diverse. You can go from one spot to the next spot
yeah.
to the next spot, and you get a different landscape depending on where you are. So
Yes.
Very true.
So, of all of those pieces, which one is your favorite?
Well, I think I've had the wonderful opportunity to look at his photographs for 16 years, but finding that story really was a different part of him. Even though it was familiar to me, I thought, oh, I think we went to that spot before because he was very habitual. He would go back to the same spots. I thought this is a spot that I'd been to with him, but I'd never seen that written. So that was
Something that he
very,
liked.
very, yeah, that was really heartwarming to me.
That's
And his
great.
daughters hadn't seen it either. So
I bet it was really special. Had they been to that location with him before?
yeah, he took the kids rafting, and that's some of the best memories those kids have. Rafting, and he'd take friends rafting, when they were all teenagers. So he was like, the cool dad.
Would you say those are some of your favorite memories of,
Yeah,
his
yeah. There's so many great memories about Rick, really. He was really a wonderful, loving, giving person.
So, what's other than what you just said? Well, my next question was going to be tell me something you want people who are viewing his art to know about him.
Well, let's see if I wrote this. I think that he was very passionate about nature, and I think these photographs was his way of bringing them into our home so he could remember these memories. But he was really in awe of just nature itself, the all things about it. I mean, he was a fish biologist, and of course, he knew all about salmon, but he loved photographing animals too. So he really brought it down to where he would take these photographs and then talk, and then we'd hear stories about the photographs because some of them were, before me, and then, of course, while we were married too. But I think he was a very compassionate person also, and I think that his love of animals and nature reflected his personality.
So you think that nature really inspired all of his work and everything that he
Oh
did?
yes,
Yeah,
definitely,
that's really neat.
definitely.
Do you think, I mean, he was prolific with his photographs, and it seems like
Yes.
he might have written a lot. Did you ever find any other stories, or is that the only story that
I
you found?
didn't find any other stories, but he had, we were busy when we met. Our kids were preteen and teen, and we dated for about 5 years before we took the plunge and got married. And then it was just so many sports and activities. So his photography kind of went that way for a while, which we're all glad we have those pictures too.
Right.
So, but
So so given the, you told me earlier about the website that he put together for the kids and the
uh-huh.
sports and all of that stuff. It sounds like he shared his photography with the entire community, not just with
Oh,
his
yes.
family, and it wasn't just something that he did personally. What do you think it meant to him to be able to share those photographs with all of those people?
Well, I think he wanted to know, let people know that he cared. Sorry, that
It's
he cared
okay.
about other people's kids in
Mhm.
general, and was setting a good example. But I think and then he every time a new restaurant would open here in town, he'd go down and say, "I'm going to see if they want any of my pictures hanging on their walls." And I'm going, "You should charge for that," but he never did. So, and they would hang them up because they were good and they reflected the local area. So I think Rick wanted to know people to know that about him, that he loved this community a lot.
It really sounds like
Sorry.
he loved it's all good. You know what? Tears are just the love that we can't share right at this moment with somebody else.
Right.
I
Right.
spend a lot of time on these calls crying.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
So
sure.
it's don't be ashamed of them and just share them because that's what our journey is all about, right? Sharing love.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like that is what he did as a person is share himself and his love for
Hmm.
people every day.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes. That's is a perfect summarization of him. So,
Amy, I'm going to ask you if you want to jump in and see if there's anything you want to ask. I have a couple more questions, but
No, go right ahead. Um, I don't have any immediate questions.
okay. Well, this one's going to be one that you might need your tears for, your tissues for. So just, and
okay.
if it happens, it happens. It's okay. And you might get me crying as well, but I'm not worried
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
Can you share with me something that you learned on your journey with him, on this ALS journey?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I would say to him, this is true love. We really love each other. And he was a very capable man. And this was it is for anybody, but he was a handyman. And I really learned how much I loved him for
I'm
one
so
thing.
sorry. I'm so sorry for that sound effect. I've got Alexa and it just told me that my
That's
son
okay.
went out the
I didn't
door.
even hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
how
hopefully it
much I
wasn't there.
loved him and what a privilege it was to take care of him.
I felt the same way about my husband. Um, my father had dementia,
Yeah,
and
that's hard.
my stepmother did not allow us daughters to be involved in his care at all.
Oh, wow.
she was very locked down and needed to make sure that she was the one taking care of him because she was his wife.
Oh
And so
boy.
as
Yeah.
so, there can be some, push me, pull me when you have families that are doing this together, and there certainly was in our case. Um,
Mm.
so when my husband came down with FTD, um, it was definitely my honor to shepherd him on the journey that he was going to go on. We couldn't follow him where he was going, but we could make
Right.
sure he knew that he was loved every step of the way. And we could make his descent as gentle as possible. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we can't stop it, but we can love them
No.
every step of the way through it. And that's what we did, by golly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good description.
Mhm. So my final question um, is there something that if you were doing this interview with me, is there something you would have asked me that I didn't ask you?
No, I can't think of anything. You guys were very, really thorough. I just looked at the, oh, I better get these answered. No, I think it was a good way to lead me through the process of describing his artwork, describing him. And so I feel very finished.
Okay, well, good. Um, I'm glad we were thorough. It's kind of a trick question because what I like to do is ask that question. And if somebody asks a question that's really deep, then I say, okay, what's the answer to that question?
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes
that's a
people are
good
smart enough to
technique.
turn it around and ask me a question about myself, but it's like, no, this show is about you, not about me. So I'm really glad that we were able to have this time. Amy, is there anything you want to add?
I was just curious, with you stating that he took pictures within the community, and if someplace was opening, uh, if they wanted any of his photos, do you find that in the community that places have that up, or just snapshots of, images
Well,
he took?
well, it's kind of funny you asked that, but it's in this small town, it's hard for businesses to stay open. So
Uh,
a couple of the pubs that were closing. His daughters went and retrieved all of his artwork that were in
oh,
those businesses. So yeah, we have it back, and I'm glad because I wouldn't want it to just,
End up
end
on
up
a
in some
trash pile.
garage sale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that ALS Northwest has an auction every year. And, I plan on just supplying that auction also. But I'm also giving those man friends need some
Yeah.
pictures too.
They sure do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Good. Mhm.
Spectacular thing. We really appreciate this time. We're so glad that you were able to be
Yeah.
here with us
No, I appreciate you guys too.
and sharing Rick with us and everybody. Like everybody's going to get to know him after this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.